The rain hammered against the windows of our Chicago apartment, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For 20 years, Alaric, a software engineer, had built a life with my wife, Bront. We had a comfortable existence, a beautiful home, and two wonderful children, now grown and starting their own lives. Or so I thought. It started subtly, with Bront working later and later at the law firm where she was a partner. "Just a big case, Alaric," she'd say, kissing me quickly on the cheek before rushing out the door. I never doubted her. Bront was ambitious, driven, but also, I believed, deeply committed to our family. Now at 46, I realize how naive I was. The first real sign came a few weeks ago. I was making dinner, Bront's favorite lasagna, and I needed to check something on her laptop. It was on the kitchen counter open, but the screen was dark. As I touched the mousepad, the screen flickered to life, revealing an email. It wasn't the content of the email that shocked me, it was the sender. A name I didn't recognize. Lysander Thorne. My heart pounded as I clicked on the email. It was a simple message, confirming a dinner reservation at a restaurant I knew Bront loved, a small Italian place downtown. But the time was for last Tuesday, a night Bront had told me she was working late at the office. I felt a cold dread creep into my bones. I tried to dismiss it. Maybe it was a business dinner, a client she hadn't mentioned. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it began to grow, fed by 1,000 tiny anxieties. Bront had been distant lately, less affectionate. Our conversations felt forced, strained. I started paying closer attention to her phone, the way she'd clutch it protectively, the hushed whispers when she thought I wasn't listening. One evening, I decided to surprise her at work. I knew she was working late again, so I grabbed some takeout from her favorite Thai restaurant and drove downtown. The receptionist at her firm looked surprised to see me. "Bront isn't here, Mr. Alaric," she said. "She left hours ago, but she told me she was working late," I stammered, feeling my face flush with anger and humiliation. "I'm sorry, Mr. Alaric," the receptionist said, her eyes filled with pity. "She had a dinner meeting, that's when I knew. The dinner with Lysander, the late nights. The distant behavior. It all clicked into place with sickening clarity. My wife was cheating on me. The next few days were a blur of pain and confusion. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I replayed every moment of our marriage in my head, searching for clues I had missed, signs I had ignored. I felt like I was living in a nightmare, a twisted version of the life I thought I knew. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't know how. I wanted to scream, to rage, to demand answers. But I also feared the truth, the confirmation of my worst fears. I spent hours pacing our apartment, trying to gather my thoughts to prepare myself for the inevitable confrontation. Finally, I decided I couldn't wait any longer. Bront came home late that evening, her face flushed, her eyes bright. "Hi, honey," she said, kissing me quickly on the lips. "Long day. We need to talk, Bront," I said, my voice trembling slightly. She looked at me, her expression wary. "What is it, Alaric?" I took a deep breath. "I know about Lysander." Her face paled. For a moment she said nothing, her eyes wide with panic. Then she started to deny it. "I don't know what you're talking about, Alaric. Lysander is just a colleague, a friend," but I wasn't buying it. "I saw the email, Bront, the dinner reservation. I went to your office. You weren't there." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Alaric, please, it's not what you think." "Then what is it, Bront?" I demanded, my voice rising. "Tell me the truth." She hesitated, then finally the words came tumbling out. "It just happened, Alaric. I didn't mean for it to happen. Lysander and we connected. I'm so sorry, connected," I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You connected. You betrayed me, Bront. You lied to me. You broke our vows." She started to cry, begging for forgiveness. "I know I messed up, Alaric, but I love you. I don't want to lose you." But the words rang hollow. The trust was broken, shattered into a million pieces. I couldn't forgive her, not after everything. "It's too late, Bront," I said, my voice cold and hard. "I want a divorce," she gasped, her face contorted with grief. "No, Alaric, please don't do this. We can work through this. We can go to therapy." "There's nothing to work through, Bront," I said. "It's over." The next few weeks were a living hell. Lawyers, paperwork, dividing our assets. The apartment felt empty, cold, devoid of the warmth and love that had once filled it. I moved into a small, sterile apartment downtown, a temporary space while I figured out my next steps. My children were devastated. They couldn't understand how their parents, who had always seemed so solid, so united, could suddenly be tearing each other apart. I tried to explain it to them, but the words felt inadequate, unable to capture the depth of my pain and betrayal. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, I learned more about Lysander Thorne. He was a partner at Braunt's firm, a charismatic, ambitious man with a reputation for sleeping his way to the top. He was married, too, with 2 young children. The realization that Braunt had not only betrayed me but also another family filled me with a sense of righteous anger. I decided I couldn't let them get away with it. I couldn't let them destroy our lives without facing any consequences. I started gathering information, digging into Lysander's background, searching for any weaknesses, any vulnerabilities. It didn't take long to find something. Lysander had been involved in a shady real estate deal a few years back, a deal that had benefited him and a few other partners at the firm at the expense of their clients. It was illegal, unethical, and potentially career-ending. I knew what I had to do. I contacted a journalist I knew, a woman who had a reputation for exposing corruption and wrongdoing. I gave her the information I had gathered, along with copies of the documents I had found. She ran with the story and it exploded. Lysander's career was ruined, his reputation tarnished. He was fired from the firm and his wife filed for divorce. Braunt was also affected, her career damaged by her association with Lysander and the scandal that had engulfed the firm. I watched it all unfold with a sense of grim satisfaction. It wasn't revenge, not exactly. It was justice, a way of holding them accountable for their actions. It didn't erase the pain, the heartbreak, but it did give me a sense of closure. As the dust settled, I started to rebuild my life. I focused on my work, my children, and my own well-being. I took up painting, something I had always wanted to do but never had the time for. I reconnected with old friends, made new ones. Slowly, gradually, I started to heal. One day, a few months after the scandal broke, I received a message from Lysander's wife, Gwyneth. She thanked me for exposing the truth, for freeing her from a toxic marriage. She told me that she was starting over too, finding her own path in life. We met for coffee and we talked for hours. We shared our stories, our pain, our hopes for the future. We found solace in each other's company, a shared understanding of the devastation that Braunt and Lysander had wrought. Gwyneth and I became friends, close friends. We supported each other, encouraged each other, helped each other navigate the complexities of our new lives. We even started dating, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence and affection. I never expected to find love again, not after everything that had happened. But Gwyneth was different. She was kind, compassionate, intelligent, and funny. She understood me, accepted me, and loved me for who I was. We've been together for 2 years now, and I've never been happier. We've built a new life together, a life filled with love, laughter, and mutual respect. Braunt and Lysander are just a distant memory, a painful chapter in my past, but the story doesn't end there. A few weeks ago, I received a call from Braunt. She was in tears, begging for my help. Her career had never recovered from the scandal and she was struggling to make ends meet. She had lost her apartment and was living in a homeless shelter. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, but I also remembered the pain she had caused me, the betrayal that had shattered my life. I hesitated, unsure of what to do. Gwyneth, who was sitting next to me, took my hand. "Help her, Alaric," she said. "It's the right thing to do." I knew she was right. I couldn't leave Braunt to suffer, not after everything. I contacted a friend who ran a nonprofit organization that helped homeless people find housing and employment. I asked him to help Braunt, to give her a second chance. He agreed, and a few weeks later, Braunt had a new apartment and a job. She was still struggling, but she was on the path to recovery. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive Braunt for what she did, but I have learned to let go of the anger and resentment. I have learned that forgiveness is not about condoning the wrong, but about freeing yourself from the bitterness that can consume you. I am grateful for the lessons I have learned, for the strength I have found within myself, and for the love I have discovered with Gwyneth. My life is not the life I had planned, but it is a good life, a life filled with purpose and meaning. And in the end, that's all that really matters. The rain outside has stopped, and the sun is starting to peek through the clouds. It's a new day, a new beginning. and I am ready for it. Now let me speak directly to you, the reader. This story, while fictionalized with names and details altered, echoes the real pain and betrayal experienced by countless individuals. Remember, you are not alone. If you find yourself in a similar situation, seek support, prioritize your well-being, and know that healing is possible. Life can offer unexpected turns and new beginnings, even after the deepest heartbreak. Stay strong and never lose hope.